Today we are going to be working on the multiplication identity for equality. Now let's look at this. Multiplication, that means we are going to be multiplying things, timesing. Identity, this means we're going to make things equal 1. And equality, that means equals. So we're going to be multiplying various numbers to make 1 and to find essentially an equality. We're going to find how they're equal. So we are going to multiply each side of an equation by the same number. By means multiply. So the two sides remain equal. That means they are identities. There is a number 1 involved. If you let's think about this. If we multiply a number, say 3 times 1, what does that equal? It equals 3. So we are going to be using this concept of multiplying by 1, or using this whole concept of multiplying by a number to get a 1 on one side of an equation to solve it. So this first equation that we have going on right here is 1/5, so 1 over 5 times x is equal to 1/3. Now, in order to get 1/5 to turn into a 1, how would we make 1/5 turn into just simply 1? We could multiply it by 5 over 1. We know from fraction multiplication, if I multiply by 5 by 1, I would get 5 over 5. 1 times 5 equals 5. So 5 over 5 equals 1. So with that concept, we are going to multiply 1/5 x by 5, and we're going to multiply 3 by 5. We're going to do it on both sides. That means that's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply it by its identity, by its inverse operation. I know you guys have seen that on various tests, and now you know what it means. And inverse operations means I'm going to multiply it by its opposite. Okay? So I can multiply it by 5 over 1. 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. X is equal to negative 3 times 5 over 1. So we're going to first simplify this left-hand side. Let's simplify this. We end up having 1x is equal to, let's look at this now. We have negative 3 times 5 over 1. We can turn that negative 3 into 3 over 1. Negative 3 over 1 times 5 over 1, and do the math. So for multiplication, we're multiplying straight across. Negative 3 times 5 equals negative 15, and 1 times 1 equals 1. So a single x is equal to negative 15. That is our final answer for this particular situation. If we want to, we can even check our work, and we can say, okay, I'm going to put this information back into our original equation. And we can say 1/5 times negative 15 is equal to negative 3. 1/5 times negative 15, or 1 times negative 15 gets us negative 15, and we're going to divide it by 5, so we get negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. So we totally have that one. Now, let's go on and actually practice this. Inverse operations mean they undo each other. So we're going to be using inverse operations to solve for x or a in these particular situations. We have negative 7 is equal to x over negative 2, x divided by negative 2. The inverse operation of dividing by negative 2 means we could multiply by negative 2. If I multiply by negative 2 on both sides of this equation, I'm keeping everything balanced, just like a scale. I'm doing the same thing to both sides. Everything's going to stay balanced. Negative 2 times negative 7 is equal to x divided by negative 2 times negative 2. Now let's think about this. I'm going to look at the right-hand side of the equation right now, and if I multiply by negative 2, technically I can think of this, I'm multiplying by negative 2 over 1. Because I have this x over negative 2, that's a fraction, x divided by negative a half, essentially. Let's now look at this. Let's simplify this. X times negative 2. Okay, so x times negative 2, we can say that ends up being negative 2x. And what we can also see is we have negative 2 times 1. I'm going to do this in a different color. Negative 2 times 1 is equal to negative 2. And all of this, we can look at this other side. Negative 2 times negative 7 equals a positive 14. So looking at this right-hand side, I see a negative 2 on the top and the bottom. That can simplify. Those things simplify. If I have 5 over 5, that simplifies to 1. So negative 2 over negative 2, that's going to simplify to 1. So technically, on the right-hand side of this entire thing, on the right-hand side of this entire equation, we really just simply have x. So 14 is equal to x. Now we can put this back into the original equation right up here, and we can say negative 7 is equal to 14 divided by negative 2. 14 divided by negative 2 is negative 7. So negative 7 equals negative 7. I think we all agree on that. That's pretty awesome. We can say, check, that one works. All right, so we're going to do the same concept on this other problem. We have a divided by 6 is equal to 12. Inverse operation of dividing by 6 is we could multiply by 6 on both sides. So let's do the work right now. 6 over 1 times a over 6. We're going to multiply straight across. That ends up being 6a over 6 times 1 is 6 equals 12 times 6 equals 72, I believe. So now 6 over 6, that can simplify to 1. So 6 over 6, we can simplify that to 1. So we have a is equal to 72. We can now put that back into our original equation and check our work. So 72 divided by 6, does that equal 12? Every single time. So check mark there. Awesome. Last little practice. We have this fun equation. We have negative 3 over 5 x, negative 3/5 x times negative 6. So inverse can also mean opposite. So we know what happens if I multiply this situation by its opposite. What's 5 times 3? That'll get me 15. What's 3 times 5? That'll get me 15. And we have a negative over negative, that equals a positive, and it'll be a positive 1. X is equal to, we have negative 6. Well, we multiplied that original left-hand side. We multiplied this left-hand side by 5 over 3. We're going to multiply this right-hand side by negative 5 over 3 as well. So we have x is equal to negative 6 over 1 times negative 5 over 3. Multiply straight across. We have negative 30 over a negative 3, which equals 10, positive 10. Let's check our work. So we have 3 over 5, negative 3/5 times 10 is equal to negative 6. Let's do the work. Negative 3 over 5 times 10 over 1 is equal to negative 6. Negative 3 times 10 equals negative 30 over 5 equals negative 6. Negative 30 divided by 5, that'll get me negative 6. Negative 6 always equals negative 6, so check that out. We did it. Awesome. So the moral of this story is if you see a division problem or a fraction problem, we can use inverse operations and the multiplication identity to undo what is happening to our variable. and we can solve for x or a or d or whatever our variable may be. But that is how we do it. Thank you.